All right. Welcome to the Max Afterburner crew. Good to see everybody here, but we'll keep flowing in. What a day. What a day. I want to give everybody some breaking news updates. Welcome to Chris, Edmund, VRCT. Captain Shriver is the moderator, and he'll be schwacking anyone who tries to spam the chat. We've got Anita. We've got Michael in here. Those are my parents. Glad you guys are here. Great to see you. Thanks for all the support. D Stu, welcome. D Stu, I'm going to make you a moderator. Yeah, there we go. All right, D Stu, you are now a moderator. I've just decided that just now. So we got D Stu. As long as you're willing to do it. If you don't want to do it, just let me know. I'll take it off of there. But we got D Stu and Captain Shriver moderating. Appreciate that. And then for the moderators, if you guys could just make sure that you're keeping all of the chat good to go, keep everything on track. And for the moderators themselves, if you guys have something that you're up to and you want to share, just wait to the end and share it at the very end within the last couple minutes. I'll give you guys a heads up to do that. But that's how we'll do that. We got Barbo, we got Aero, we got Chip, and yeah, the crew. Crew is rolling in. So great to see everybody here. I'll go ahead and dive right in. So a lot of the things that I'm going to be covering today, just kind of a revamp of the entire day. So huge revamp, lots of things going on today. And I want to start with this. This is actually really cool. So here we go. This is actually something that I just saw. So this is Iran during the 12-day war, where Iran is saying that no bomb can touch them. So let's watch her. This is from the Iranian propaganda machine. This was during the 12-day war, but this is going to give you an idea of what's likely going to come. So she basically just said, no bomb can touch us. And then the actual TV station where the propaganda machine lives got hit. So it's likely what we'll be seeing here relatively soon. The propaganda machine is in full effect, and that will likely be taken down very soon as well. Yeah, it didn't age very well, did it? So that's something I wanted to show you guys. This is also what's going on in the Straits of Hormuz right now. So it's easier for me instead of sharing my screen just to show you guys. So as you can see, the Straits of Hormuz, this is the traffic. There, it's kind of better to see there. So you can see the traffic has slowed down greatly in the Straits of Hormuz because Iran is still threatening the Straits, even though the Navy has been eradicated basically at this point. But literally just hours ago, the propaganda machine is still threatening the Straits of Hormuz, which is just wild. So wanted to point that out to you guys. This is the actual Navy of Iran being struck. So let's take a peek at that. So the actual Iranian Navy, these are the ships, 11 ships that they had in the near the Straits of Oman. Those are now taken down as well. So just some good intel there, knowing that came in. I don't know how that came in. Bill Clinton came in next. So we'll let you guys, we'll let the chat have some fun with that one. Why Bill popped in after that. Very interesting there. We got some strikes happening. These are strikes on the actual ballistic missiles themselves. So ballistic missile strikes happening there. Yeah, so we all know the ballistic missiles are a huge problem. That's one of the big things that are being taken out right now. Ballistic missiles being struck down. And this is a Su-22 being struck down. So Su-22 being struck. So here's some things, guys. Overall, so people have been saying, you know, obviously across the political spectrum, there's going to be people that are going to say, even whatever's going on is going to be something that's negative, right? They're going to say something like that. However, what I'm seeing so far is incredible leadership from the American military and incredible operations from the service members. I mean, let's just give credit where credit is due. Service members at this point, just showing up time and time again for these missions and making it happen, which is huge. So I love seeing that. We also had F-15Es shot down, right? So we know that 3 of them were shot down in a friendly fire incident, and that was in Kuwait. So friendly fire incident in Kuwait. Why did that happen? Well, let me see if I can actually find an image of one of the pilots. Not sure if this was a fighter pilot or a Wizzo, but she basically looks rock solid. I mean, just an awesome, solid person. A local comes up to her as she is, here, I'll put it over here, actually. There we go. So this is a local Kuwaiti coming up to one of those Strike Eagle pilots. And you can see the Kuwaiti is being super friendly, saying, do you need any help? Thank you so much for your support and help. And she's like, nope, I'm good to go. And then they're just going to wait for pickup there. It looks like all 6 of those aviators are now accounted for, which is huge. So love seeing that. That's just great. Massive there. B1 said to be involved in the operation as well. I just wish we could get one of these. If we could just get one of these Iranian F-14s, could we just get one? Can we just save one of them? I just want an F-14. I want an Iranian F-14. So if we could just get one of those, that would just make me so happy. I would love that. That would make my day. So Blinkman's here, Simon's here, Joey, D. Stu. Appreciate D. Stu and Captain Shriver. Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys moderating, being the flight leads up in the sky, protecting the chat. That's huge. Midnight, Matter, Cat, Chip, and Sub, Gibbon. You guys are all awesome. Thanks for being here. So Kuwaiti's going to shoot down those 3 F-15Es. Big thing is no loss of aviators. That's huge. You can replace jets. The National Treasure is the actual aviators inside of them. So as of March 2nd, the war is in its 3rd day. Ongoing strikes in Tehran and other cities. U.S. forces have achieved air superiority over Tehran, enabling continuous strikes. So at this point, just continuous strikes. But President Trump even came out and said the campaign could last 4 to 5 weeks. And that just makes sense. With something 2.5 times the size of Texas, at this point, there's going to be so many different operations that need to take place to take out the IRGC. That 4 to 5 weeks sounds about right. This isn't going to be as fast as Venezuela because obviously, as we've talked about, it's not just the Ayatollah. It's not just the prime minister of Iran. It's actually 100,000 radical IRGC members who are basically the strong arm of the Ayatollah. Keep in mind, these folks have been completely brainwashed, right? So we saw, I don't know if you guys have seen, but the IDF released some footage of the IRGC headquarters being struck and taken down. And so, hey, you join the IRGC, you got to know that's the potential there. The lifespan for Ayatollahs in Iran is not very long right now, just as a side note. New Ayatollah has been selected, so we call him the new Ayatollah at this point, and there'll probably be a new one here soon because, again, lifespan of Ayatollah is not very long. There are 6 service member casualties confirmed at this point, 5 seriously wounded, 2 previously unaccounted for were recovered. President Trump has warned of also potential losses that could come after that as well. And Iran right now is just aimlessly launching ballistic missiles. So they're aimlessly launching ballistic missiles into areas where they just think that U.S. troops could be at bases like Al Dhafra, Qatar. And then they're just aimlessly launching Shahed drones and ballistic missiles into rural and also populated areas throughout the Middle East. So UAE, Saudi Arabia, populated areas, just random ballistic missile strikes coming in from Iran. Iranian officials have framed the conflict as an existential threat, and the rhetoric is hitting level 11. They're vowing a crushing response, is what their rhetoric is right now. I mean, the prime minister basically looking like he's going to go down with a sinking ship, as most of these Ayatollahs are going to. And they emphasize that they have sovereignty right now. That's what they're saying. The foreign minister, Abbas Agharachi, warned of targeting vessels in the Straits of Hormuz and called the strikes unprovoked aggression. Because again, this is all they have. All they have is the rhetoric trying to step up and say that, they have the ability to inflict chaos and damage. But really all they have are the untargeted random ballistic missiles. Interim leadership right now in Iran includes President Masoud Pezeshkian and a newly formed leadership council. They've urged national unity and resistance. So they've actually created protests within their country to make it look like and show pro-regime protests. But we all know, the gig's up. You killed 30,000 people. So Parliamentary Speaker Mohammed Maghir Ghalibaf stated that Khamenei's killing crossed a red line. And their rhetoric mirrors pre-conflict warnings where we saw before, where clerics like Lotov have been stating that war remains an option all the time for them. Basically, they're saying that they will take on the United States and they're not afraid. IRGC advisors have threatened broader regional escalation, including attacks on Gulf energy infrastructure for pressure for diplomacy, basically. Social media from Iranians show that they are celebrating the death of Khamenei. of the Ayatollah who wreaked havoc on their country. From Timothy Wells, thank you for the super thanks. I appreciate that. You've seen various videos showing strikes on various targets. In the footage, there always appears to be a strobe light. Is this U.S. targeting technology? So the strobe light technology that you're seeing, that's going to be a laser. So a lot of special forces or even airborne aircraft. In this case right now, it's going to be other airborne aircraft. So it could be a drone like MQ-9 Reaper or something like that, that's actually painting the target with a laser. And then an F-15E rolls in, releases a weapon, and it smacks into the actual laser where that is actually being targeted at. IRGC advisors are high on that list as well. They might be getting painted here soon. On March 11th, March 1st, 11:03 p.m., that's when those U.S. F-15Es went down by Kuwait. Now, some context there. When you think of the Shahed drone, when the Shahed drone comes in, it's about 200 to 250 miles per hour. That's kind of the bread and butter of that thing. And when a Strike Eagle comes into land, the speed that they're coming in at, about 200 to 250 miles per hour. So we actually saw this with the U.S. Navy shooting down F-18s. Those were with SM-6 missiles, similar to a Patriot, similar system, Aegis system, so similar radar. And at the end of the day, they're flying at the same speeds when they come into land as what the Shahed drones are doing. And it looks like Kuwait was actually intercepting Shahed drones relatively around the exact same time that the F-15Es just happened to be coming back. So in my opinion, the targeting radar of the Patriot, the targeting operator, they didn't know what they were seeing. They thought they were seeing Shahed drones, and that's why they did what they did. But there's got to be ways to deconflict that. There are ways to deconflict from that, and a lot of that stuff is classified. So we got another super thanks from Kachui, or actually from Kamolos. Do you really think this will be shorter than the air wars of the 90s in Bosnia and Yugoslavia? Those were a lot easier. I worry that Trump will push to make a deal before the mission is completed. At this point, I don't think there's any reason to make a deal before the mission is completed, right? Basically, this has been, you can't take back at this point what's been done, and why would you want to, right? Because the Ayatollah has been struck, taken out, the evil regime is on its heels. At the end of the day, people have said this is for Iran, it's for the Iranian people inside Iran, but really this is for Americans. If you think about the Americans that will not be killed now because of the U.S. going in and taking out the regime in Iran, there's no reason to make a deal with them. So what we're likely going to see for the next 30 to 90 days, likely more towards the 30 days, we're going to see ballistic missiles being struck. So the ATO, that's the Air Tasking Order, and that is what's going to be loaded up with F-15E Strike Eagles, and they're going to be taking out the ballistic missiles. So Iran is said to have 2,000 to 3,000 ballistic missiles. They've launched about 600 or so of those. And so now it's just whack-a-mole. Take down as many ballistic missiles as you possibly can. So F-15Es, F-16s can now go in because the surface-to-air missile sites have been taken out by F-22s, F-35s, EA-18Gs, basically plowed the way, creating silent corridors where now these F-15Es and F-16s, these basically, I would say, kind of the workhorses of the U.S. Air Force, can now go in and just strike these different surface-to-air ballistic missiles, or they're actually surface-to-surface ballistic missiles. So again, now it's all about crushing as many of those ballistic missiles as you possibly can. And what I'm seeing also on X is Reza Pahlavi is saying that internal fractures are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because again, there's the air war going on, but there's also the war that we're not seeing, right? The internal CIA Mossad war that's going in and making sure that this regime topples. So I do not see this regime having any chance. I think what we will see this regime do is some of them that survive will sit on trials for war crimes, for what they did to their people and crimes against humanity, basically. So that's likely where this goes, in my opinion. So the next, let's just say 30-ish days or so, ballistic missiles being struck every single day. So every single day, ballistic missiles being taken out, as many as you possibly can. And then after that, then you start to take down any IRGC members that are left. And a lot of that can be targeted. So think MQ-9 Reaper operating with Hellfires. Think Strike Eagles operating with SDBs, small diameter bombs. So it's kind of like the scalpel comes in first. So the scalpel is take out the surface-to-air missile systems and then allow the B2s, allow the B1s to go in and just strike targets as many times as we need. So the B2s have kind of done their job. They've taken down the they've taken down basically IRGC sites, and they've also taken out ballistic missiles and the hardened sites of Fordo and Natanz. So that's kind of the scalpel goes in, takes out those. The B-1s likely launch JASSMs, joint air-to-surface standoff missiles. Those B-1s can carry 20 to 30 of those things each. They go in and boom, they get those things off and they strike IRGC command centers and things like that. So we'll continue to see that, but now it's time for the hammer. So now the hammer comes in with the F-15E to just crush these different ballistic missile sites. That's the big deal there. William Crawford, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate that. Renee, Dior, CT, awesome, guys. Really appreciate everybody being in the chat. Awesome. So here we go. CENTCOM described this as an apparent friendly fire incident with the F-15E, so that's basically confirmed. Now, on to the Navy, obliteration of Iran's Navy. President Trump announced that U.S. forces have sunk 9 Iranian naval ships, including relatively large and important vessels, and largely destroyed Iran's naval headquarters in separate attacks. The strikes targeted the different headquarters to make sure that the IRGC has no ability to operate a navy at this point. U.S. assets involved include aircraft carriers, the USS Abraham Lincoln, the Gerald R. Ford, guided missile destroyers, and then new capabilities like precision strike missiles and the low-cost drones. We actually saw one of those low-cost drones, the Lucas, land in Iraq. So as those things are flying, some of them are going to malfunction. That's just how it goes when you have a swarm of 1,000 of these things. A few of them just might not make it to the target. So we saw that in Iraq, a few of those crashing in the desert of Iraq. So I want to move now to a little bit about China and Russia. Okay, so China has condemned these strikes as unacceptable, calling Khamenei's killing a blatant assassination. Okay, yeah, sure, blatant assassination. How about the blatant assassination of 30,000 of their own people on the streets? Let's talk about that. If you look at the Iranian Americans that are the brave Iranian Americans standing up, basically just calling for the end of their ancestors and the people that are in Iran being slain by, an evil dictator. Blatant assassination, though, is what China is saying, and they're urging an immediate ceasefire and return to dialogue. Yeah, return to dialogue. Awesome. So China's going to spit this outright because they kind of want to be the thorn in the side of the U.S. They don't want the U.S. to be strong, right? They want the U.S. to be flooded with fentanyl, and they want the U.S. to always be distracted because they want the South China Sea, they want Taiwan, they want the U.S. to be on their heels. So they're going to spit out rhetoric like this. But again, they're also a little bit, let's just say, we'll just say embarrassed. China's a little bit embarrassed because they flew in over 20 cargo flights, what was said to be advanced surface-to-air radars from China, right? And so they're kind of thinking they were going to have a field day, taking down F-35s. Now, again, anything can happen at this point because it's a dynamic, fluid situation. And when some of these surface-to-air missile sites click on, you could get a lucky BB that goes up and hits a 4th-generation fighter. But China wanted to get shoot downs of 5th gen especially, and obviously 4th gen as well. They wanted to do that because that is just, it's a notch in their belt. And when you think of China, they want notches in their belt. They want their systems to look good on the international stage. That's an honor thing to them to potentially shoot down an F-35. That'd be something that they would, never stop talking about. So Beijing is going to put out rhetoric like this. That's just what they're going to do. Again, Beijing supports Iran's territorial integrity. They'll be supporting Iran's new regime, the new people that come in and the free people of Iran that come in. That's what they'll actually be supporting. But their rhetoric right now is they're saying they support Iran's territorial integrity. Experts suggest that China sees long-term opportunity in a weakened Iran, avoiding military backing while criticizing the U.S. Chinese analysts view the strikes as preemptive and potentially aimed at, taking control of the oil supply. However, likely China will get much more oil once the Iranian oil industry is revamped. And obviously oil is a big part of this, right? The Straits of Hormuz, letting oil flow through there, that's huge. Absolutely. Russia labeled the attacks as unprovoked acts of armed aggression and a cynical murder of Khamenei, is what they said. And then President Putin, he offered mediation via calls, so they don't know which way this is going to go necessarily. I mean, I think if they have 2 brain cells, they realize the way this is going to go. They might pretend like they don't. They kind of play aloof, maybe stand in the background, not really know where this is going to go. But with a sustained operation over the course of 30 days, the entire Iranian military will be fully dismantled. And at that point, a new government will be able to step in. And again, it's going to take some operations on the ground as far as special operations, CIA, Mossad, to make sure the inner circle of the IRGC doesn't try to just create the status quo in the country. That's going to be huge. So where do we go from here? So obviously Russia and China spouting the rhetoric, that's obvious. Short term though, US expects intensified Iranian retaliation. They're just going to lob these ballistic missiles. That's what they're going to keep doing. And they have a lot of them still. So intensified retaliation from them. Their strikes are going to be focused from the US, focused on degrading even more the command and control aspect, with risks of escalation with the proxies out there. And that's just obvious. Iran's always going to have those risks. And we've seen at the different US embassies, this is something that's very interesting to me. So the embassy in Pakistan, embassies around the Middle East, we saw a lot of protesters storm, basically insurgents storming these US embassies. But now at this point, this isn't the same administration that allowed the embassy in Benghazi to be taken over and the US ambassador to be killed. This is not that administration. So it looks like US Marines have killed 20 people in Pakistan because they were threatening to go in and kill the people inside the embassy. So what I think we'll see actually is now these proxies are going to realize that there's a new sheriff in town and they can't operate with impunity anymore. They're actually going to have to start respecting the rule of law. That's just my opinion. You guys can have your own opinion, but it looks to me like at this point, they're finding out, they're messing around, they're finding out, and they're realizing that they can't do what they did before, and they're not going to overrun an embassy like they did in Benghazi. Marines now at these embassies are shooting to kill, as they should if someone's trying to overrun their position. So likely though, in the short term, I would expect intensified rhetoric and intensified attacks from these proxies on the different embassies in the Middle East. And then Iranian leadership is going to struggle with coordination, and they're going to have inconsistent responses. They're going to keep the rhetoric going, but at the end of the day, their number one goal is to try to look legitimate, which at this point, they don't. But they'll continue to try to look legitimate. Medium term, 1 to 4 weeks. So 4 weeks or so for primary objectives, focusing on regime change, internal uprisings will at some point be fully unleashed. So if you saw the president's remarks on day 2 of the war, basically he said, if you're an Iranian who wants freedom, stay in your home and stay protected until you get the green light. That green light will likely, in my opinion, be 3 to 4 weeks away until the regime is completely, fully fractured. At this point, they're still hanging on by a thread. So 3 to 4 weeks of intensive bombings and they'll be fully fractured. And then at that point, it'll be beautiful to see the peaceful Iranian people who want to take back their country, who will eventually have peace. There might be a lot of things asked of them that won't be peaceful initially. I mean, when you're taking down the Ayatollah's inner circle and the IRGC, who's been slaughtering their own people, I mean, at some point, this is not going to be a peaceful takeover in a lot of ways, but it will eventually become peaceful. Long-term implications. Success here could realign the entire Middle East. It could weaken the China, Russia, Iran, North Korea bond. It obviously will do that. And it'll benefit U.S. strategic pivots into Asia as well. Because again, now the U.S. having an ally in Iran, China is going to have to be way more allied with the United States. And this is a play that I think could keep China from ever taking Taiwan. So China was rumored to want to take Taiwan in 2027. We got Superfly in the house. First live. Glad to be here. Glad you found the channel. Hooah. Love it, my friend. Thanks so much for being here. Love having you in the house. That's awesome. And thanks for the super thanks. But here's something that people don't really realize, and that is taking Iran and making them an ally of the United States, controlling that flow of oil through the Straits of Hormuz, and continuously making China the number one consumer of Iran's oil still. Right now there's a disruption that'll be fixed. The Iranian Navy is gone. They can't threaten the Straits of Hormuz anymore. Any boats from Iran start to flinch out there, and it's not going to be pretty. We'll just say that. So this is a master play, master 4D chess move. So now China, seeing that Iran and the U.S. will likely have a stronger bond after this, China will likely make a lot of business deals to get the oil in Iran. And there could be a U.S. base put in Iran eventually to just kind of keep things kosher for a while. So we lost Bagram. So why not put another base? Let's go to Tabriz, where we just eliminated most of their Su-22s, F-14s, and F-4s. Why not? There's a runway up there. We'll fix it. We'll repair it. And let's put a base up there, you know? Okay, cool. China, you want to take Bagram? Sweet. Awesome. The Taliban in Pakistan. Pakistan's bombing the Taliban right now, by the way. But that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to get too far into that. But yeah, there's skirmishes along the border in the Fatwa, the tribal areas, Pakistan and Afghanistan, right where I flew combat missions. The Taliban are being bombed up there because they're basically harboring, you know, insurgents, basically causing mischief around the globe, around Pakistan especially. And Pakistan's not messing around with that. So it's actually good to see Pakistan's keeping the Taliban in check. But okay, cool, China, you got Bagram? Sweet, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, yeah, congratulations. Maybe a base in Tabriz, northern Iran, where the US can operate from and help just reassure China that taking Taiwan is a bad idea. Because at the end of the day, the Straits of Hormuz, Iran, yeah, it's about Iran, but this is bigger. It's about Iran. It's about freeing the Iranian people. But mark my words, this is about preventing China from taking Taiwan. This is the bigger domino. This is the bigger strategic chess move, and you've got to keep China in check. So I think what this does, guys, and this is something that I wanted to bring up to you all. I haven't said it on any of my videos yet, but since you're here for the live, I wanted to tell you that. I think this is a huge move to keep Taiwan from falling in 2027. I'm not going to quite say we won't see it happen, at least an attempt, but I think this pushes it back decades. I don't think China will make a move now that the Straits of Hormuz will likely be under way more domination of U.S. control. China didn't realize how much the U.S. could go in and take down Iran, how fast the U.S. could go down and strike Iran. They didn't know that. You know, a lot of the leaders like Putin, Xi Jinping, they were shocked by Venezuela. And I think a lot of them are getting even more shocked about what happened with the Straits of Hormuz, with the Iranian Navy going away like that. I mean, what do they have? Like maybe a couple rusty hulled boats left, if anything, at this point. I think 11 of them have been taken out by CENTCOM. So yeah, so I think that's the big strategic takeaway here. Prevent China from ever wanting to take Taiwan, and this is a huge move to do that. So Timothy Wells asks, what can the administration do, in your opinion, to bolster the everyday Americans' support? Well, you know, I think a lot of this comes down to what is the ultimate goal here? Well, the ultimate goal for the American people is to not have to wake up every morning and, you know, see, oh, another proxy army has been ignited by Iran and there's people dead in Israel. There's people dead at a U.S. embassy. There's a bombing somewhere. Now, not that those things can't still happen with sleeper cells and things like that. But I think the everyday American, I think if we really are honest with each other, you know, the people that are in the middle, it's about having a little bit more peace of mind. It's about knowing that Iran's not going to build a ballistic missile that can reach New York, you know? And I think when I look at the moderates, which is where I typically hang out, we just don't want a radical cleric to be able to threaten us. We don't want to have that in our mind. We got enough stuff to worry about, right? We got families, we got jobs, you know, we got to make sure that we're taking care of our lives. So just the idea that now your kids, your grandkids won't have to wake up to a world where a radical cleric has the ability to bomb New York, I think that's just a better world. You know, I think that's a better place to be. Awesome. Yeah. And I know people out there, you want to be able to afford things. Got it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, control of the Straits of Hormuz and not having the Straits of Hormuz threatened by the Iranian Navy, which they've threatened to shut down many times, which will spike gas prices if they're actually in control of the Straits of Hormuz long term. That'll spike gas prices long term. And then we'll be paying $5, $6, $10 a gallon if Iran was able to build and have a stranglehold on the Straits of Hormuz. So there'll be some short-term economic pain as the Straits of Hormuz are in the middle of this conflict right now. But once the Islamic regime falls and a new regime is put in place that is business-friendly, that is focused on the advancement of the Iranian free people, and actually has the ability to focus on a relationship and being a partner with the United States, with Saudi Arabia, at that point, prices, boop, mark my words, prices will definitely start to fall. Looks like Captain Shriver just laser beamed out a comment. Nicely done. Captain Shriver up there with his high-powered microwave just zapping Shawhead drone comments. That's awesome. And then we got D Stu as the moderator as well. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question about, you know, wanting to just afford things. Yeah, it's $5.99 in California right now, but let's think about why it's $5.99 in California and why it was just $1.99 in, I believe, Iowa or Ohio. You know, why do you think it's $5.99 in California? I mean, we don't even have to get into that, but you guys can probably guess why. Okay, so we've talked about short term, medium term, long term, but we're still in the thick of it right now. So we're getting into some of the strategy, but at the end of the day, we are in the thick of this. So think 30 days or so of this operation going down. Uncertainties and risks, escalation, and again, Iran just aimlessly lobbing ballistic missiles into populated areas towards U.S. bases, and that is the big threat. So ultimately, at the end of the day, U.S. doubling down on any type of technology that can take down these ballistic missiles, going up there, striking them down with high-powered microwaves, with lasers, whatever the case is for the drones. And then the ballistic missiles, those are going to be interceptors like the Patriot missile, THAAD system, and things like that. So I think we covered it all, guys. Again, just super grateful today that those 6 aviators are safe. They've all been accounted for. But we've got 6 U.S. members that have not made it. So right now, it's all about complete annihilation of the Iranian regime. Moderators, if you want to throw in just one text of anything you're up to that you want to share with everybody, just as my thanks to you for what you're doing. If you want anybody to check out what you're up to, go ahead and do that. And then for everybody here, go ahead and join the Max Ready Room. That allows you to become a member of the channel and you get priority responses to all your comments. Just like Andrew here, Andrew Finn, right here, he said it's $2.20 in South Dakota. Great. No, gas is awesome. That gas price just makes me happy. But thanks again to everybody for being here. Really appreciate it. And D Stu, Captain Schreiber, thanks so much. How can members join that Ready Room? So if you're a member of the channel, you are in the Ready Room. And the Ready Room is a new studio that's being built. And I'll start doing lives from there eventually. But if you're a channel member already, you're in. So again, you're good to go as far as that goes. Hans, thanks for being here. Appreciate everybody. Phil T. Parker, thank you. Janky, thanks. Scooby Smacks, Larry Talbot, thanks for being here. VRCT, awesome. Appreciate that. Someone's asking about my call sign Neo. I'll cover that in a future live. Thanks to everybody. PBC, Andrew, Timothy, Rich, Ryan Shonik, Monkeys Will Win, channel member. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah, Matt, appreciate you being here. Love from Canada. You just said love from Canada. Thank you. I love it. I love seeing patriotic Canadians, you know, people that love freedom and appreciate freedom. You know, you're welcome here anytime. Hats off to everybody. Anita, Mike, thanks for being here. Appreciate that support. Love you guys. And just many thanks to everybody. Big hats off and support to the American military. That's the whole reason why this channel exists. That's why I exist. Hopefully, I'm just a small reminder, small voice of the men and women that are out there fighting every single day. Currently, right now, operating sorties, missions, things that we probably will never know about, but I'll do my best to tell the stories of the things that we can talk about and share their stories with you all. It's an honor and a privilege. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Tomorrow's video. So tomorrow's video probably will be on the eradication of the Iranian Navy, but who knows what happens here in the next 12 hours. Usually I get the current most breaking update, and then that'll kind of help with the video as well. But likely based around the Iranian Navy going bye-bye and what happens to the Straits of Hormuz now that that's the case, because they're still threatening the Straits of Hormuz. So I'll keep you guys posted. Appreciate everybody here. Thanks so much. Check out tomorrow's video. Should be releasing sometime around 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Appreciate it, guys. Join the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off.